men and women of goodwill in this great nation to support the efforts of the international community to protect the vulnerable in our world.
This afternoon, Pope Francis will do something that's never been done in the U.S. before, canonizing a saint on American soil. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jim Reek.
And I'm Katie Link. Earlier today, Pope Francis gave a historic message at the White House. He called on America to save future generations from the impact of climate change. NBC's Tracy Potts has the latest.
Pope Francis up close and personal with school children at the Vatican Embassy this morning, before a more formal welcome at the White House.
On behalf of the American people, it is my great honor and privilege to welcome you to the United States of America.
Addressing 11,000 people on the White House South Lawn, the Pope called on America to protect the poor. And in what he calls this critical moment in history, the Pope says we cannot afford to ignore climate change.
It seems clear to me also that climate change is a problem we can no longer be left to a future generation.
Under pressure to address same-sex marriage, the Pope urged tolerance.
American Catholics are committed to building a society which is truly tolerant and inclusive, to safeguarding the rights of individuals and communities.
Following a private meeting with the president, this crowd got what they'd been waiting for, the Pope-mobile, the American version, and a kiss this child's family will never forget. Tracy Potts, NBC News at the White House.
The Pope says he hopes to offer words of encouragement to help guide our nation's political future.
Catholics all over the world are keeping a close eye on the Pope's visit and his message. A mid-Missouri religious leader says that the Pope's message should resonate with everyone, regardless of their religious beliefs or political affiliation. He applauded the Pope's views on climate change and said it's our responsibility as citizens to take care of the earth by fighting global warming. Even though Pope Francis touched on hot-button issues, this leader says being political is not the Pope's duty.
It's so easy for us who live in a divided culture to hear him speaking politically. We think of him as a legislator, but that's not the Pope's role. The Pope's role is to preach the gospel.
Brooks says he hopes that when the Pope meets with Congress tomorrow that he stresses the importance of politics being about the people and not about the politicians.
Well-known environmental activist Erin Brockovich is calling out Columbia Water and Light. This comes after Brockovich openly criticized the utility in a Facebook post. KOMU8's Colin Ruane is live downtown with a reaction you'll see only on KOMU8.
Well, if you've been checking Facebook for the past 24 hours or so, you might have noticed a post from Erin Brockovich criticizing the way Columbia Water and Light handles water treatment. Now, I took that post to leaders here at City Hall earlier today to get their take on it. And as you might guess, Columbia Water and Light disagrees with the post. It's something we do every day, run water. And it's something Columbia Water and Light takes very seriously.
For water utilities, the number one thing has to be safety.
But a recent news release from the city brought some surprising attention from Erin Brockovich. In a Facebook post, Brockovich called Water and Light, quote, lazy and cheap, and accused it of lying about water cleaning recommendations from the Department of Natural Resources. Water and Light spokeswoman Connie Kaprowitz disagrees and tells us there is no way for the city to make changes to the water without letting the DNR know.
The Missouri Department of Natural Resources is the policing agency. Water is so important to our life that it's very important that every regulation is followed.
Still, Brockovich didn't hold back on Facebook, saying the DNR, quote, never recommended the use of ammonia and chlorine in its water, something Water and Light denies. Kaprowitz says Brockovich's post is filled with bad information, which she says is concerning because when you log onto her Facebook page, she has more than 450,000 fans, and that post alone has more than 400 shares.
We want to make sure that people know what they're drinking.
Something she hopes Columbia residents know every time they turn the water on and off. And I reached out to the DNR earlier today to get its take on the post, but I have yet to get a response. If you'd like to take a full look at Brockovich's post on Facebook, we have a link to that at KOMU.com. Reporting live in Columbia, Colin Ruane, KOMU 8 News.
A Jefferson City toddler was taken by helicopter to University Hospital today after the boy was struck by a police car. It happened on East McCarty Street. He was immediately taken to Columbia with non-life-threatening injuries. The Highway Patrol is investigating the accident. More tonight on KOMU 8 News at 9 and 10. Prosecutors say a Mid-Missouri police officer was justified in shooting and wounding a man earlier this month. The Montauk County prosecutor says California police had no choice but to shoot Nicholas Rodriguez on September 4th. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says Rodriguez grabbed an airsoft rifle designed to look like an AK-47 as police were serving an arrest warrant. The report says the orange tip, designed to distinguish it from an actual firearm, was covered with black electrical tape. Prosecutors charged Rodriguez with second-degree assault on a law enforcement officer Tuesday.
How much is too much money for a state government employee to earn? The St. Louis Journal reports on the state agency paying the highest salaries. KOMU 8's Kaylee Peterson is here in the studio with a look at the numbers.
The Department of Mental Health employed the most expensive state workers in 2014. The Department of Mental Health employed the 25 highest paid state employees. 20 of the top 25 paid DMH employees are physicians or physician specialists. Those salaries range from a little more than $200,000 to almost $400,000. 5 are medical directors and administrators. Deborah Walker, the director of the Office of Public and Legislative Affairs for the DMH, says, quote, within the last couple of years, DMH increased its starting salary for psychiatrists to fill a 22% statewide vacancy rate and to become more competitive with private sector positions. Between 2007 and 2012, the state cut about a third of funding for mental health, but since 2012, the funding has increased from $1.2 billion to $1.6 billion.
The dates and locations of the 2016 presidential debates were announced today, and Washington University in St. Louis is on the list. It's the 4th time Washington University has hosted a debate. Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, and the University of Nevada in Los Angeles will also host presidential debates. Moderators and formats for the debates will be announced next year. Donald Trump has decided to boycott Fox News because he doesn't like the way the station is covering the campaign. The billionaire sent out a tweet saying Fox has been treating him very unfairly. A Fox spokeswoman says Trump only announced the boycott because the station canceled a Trump appearance. Trump has been at odds with the network since the first GOP debate. Heavy rain flooded streets of Fargo and West Fargo this morning. The rain was persistent throughout the early morning hours. A few cars were stalled in bumper-deep water. Others pushed through the waves from other passing vehicles. Parts of the road were closed during the early morning commute, but by 8 o'clock, most of that water had drained.
No rain here. Sure hope you enjoyed the first day of fall. Let's send it over to Kenton for a check of the forecast.
I hope you did too. Good afternoon, everyone. Now, while Fargo may have saw quite a bit of rain today, we're not seeing any. We're just seeing some clouds throughout the area. Otherwise, temperatures really haven't been affected by the cloud cover that much at all. We're in the middle 80s right now across the area. 83 in Columbia, 84 at Jeff City and Versailles and Lake of the Ozarks as well. Hour by hour, getting down into the 70s this evening. It's going to be a gorgeous evening for outdoor activities. But tomorrow, we're going to warm back up into the middle 80s. Still some passing clouds expected, though. I'm going to have your 8-day forecast coming up after the break.
Kenton, thank you very much. In admission to emissions, the CEO of a major car maker steps down.
Plus, 2 Al Jazeera journalists are pardoned and released from prison today. We'll give you the details on why they were detained in the first place.
And you're looking live over Columbia on this Wednesday afternoon. You know what that is? It's hump day. It's 5:08. This is KOMU 8 News. First at 5, coverage you can count on.
Welcome back to KOMU 8 News. First at 5, you're taking a live look over the Sedalia area in Pettis County on a first alert weather cam. Some clouds out there, just almost right along that camera. Actually, you can see kind of some of the haze on the camera from the clouds. But Heading back in studio, our weather story today, of course, the first day of autumn, but we are not feeling like it. Certainly above average temperatures today, but we do have some dry conditions ahead as well, which is good news for some of us, but we are rather dry at the end of summer and as we go into fall. And I know some farmers need it and some don't because, of course, we are getting into harvest season. But right now you can see these clouds starting to roll through. And if you look over towards the north and to the west, again, we just showed that story about Fargo just before the break. A lot of rain for some places, some flooding for them, because they've been just seeing pretty much the same thing the past couple of days. And this is kind of going to be the same situation the next couple of days as well. It's not moving towards us any. It's kind of like a fake out, because normally when you would see rain over there, well, the system's moving our way. We're going to see it move into our area. Not going to be the case this time. It's kind of just going to be a little bit of a tease for us. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're still seeing just some passing clouds in the area, but of course, the major system's still over to our west. Tomorrow by 3 p.m., still just some passing clouds, some sunshine though for a lot of us as well. And then as we head into Friday, 8 a.m., still some clouds in the area. System still over to the northwest. And as we head into Friday afternoon, pretty much the same thing. We could get maybe some sprinkles into our western viewing area by Friday evening, but we're really not expecting much for any of us. Again, that's just a tease. It's not going to be moving in. It's going to be dry for us here in Missouri. Overnight tonight, though, a low temperature around 62 degrees. Our average this time of the year is in the middle 50s, so we're certainly warmer there as well. Partly cloudy skies also expected. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. 83 tomorrow. Our average 76, 75 this time of the year. So we are feeling warm. 82 on Friday, 80 on Saturday for the Roots and Blues and Barbecue Festival. And as we head into next week, look at how warm our temperatures could get. We're getting back into the middle and possibly upper 80s by the end of next week. There's really just not a change that's going to cool us off before then. But otherwise, this weekend, not looking bad with the Roots and Blues and Barbecue Festival. Temperatures are going to be nice, but of course, don't forget that sunscreen. You're going to need it. We're going to have a lot of sun out there.
You know, I was excited with the beginning of fall to pull out my flannels and not my winter boots, but my fall boots.
Okay.
And now it's almost up to 80 again next week.
Oh, you're not. I don't think you're going to need it for a couple of weeks,
yeah.
Katie. I hope we get there, because again, it is my favorite season.
We'll get
I think
there.
it's a lot of our favorite seasons as we head into it.
It's just weather in mid-Missouri.
It is.
It is.
All right, Kenton, thanks.
You're welcome.
Navy sailors aboard the USS Jefferson City are visiting mid-Missouri this week. Today, the sailors stopped at the MU Navy ROTC program. This weekend, they'll be in the capital city attending events and meeting and greeting. Commander John Krogan says he and his crew have a close relationship to the city, and it's an honor to be here.
When you're out on the ship and you're working hard, it's always great to be able to touch those people that you're doing your job for. You know, you're doing it for your country. It's great to go back to your namesake, and gives some body to what you're doing.
Events are scheduled Saturday and Sunday in the capital city. The USS Jefferson City is based at Pearl Harbor. Iraq is experiencing an outbreak of a highly infectious disease.
We'll tell you how it's being spread and how many people have fallen ill after the break.
The CEO of Volkswagen announced this morning he's stepping down. Martin Winterkorn's resignation comes as the car maker admitted to rigging its diesel cars' emissions to pass U.S. tests. He says he took responsibility for the irregularities, but he wasn't aware of any wrongdoing. He says the company needs a fresh start. 2 former Al Jazeera journalists were among 100 prisoners pardoned by Egypt's president today. The pardons come a day before the Egyptian president heads to New York for the 70th session of the UN General Assembly. The journalists were sentenced to 3 years in prison on charges of operating without a press license and broadcasting material harmful to Egypt. Violent clashes erupted between Uruguay police and members of education unions. The clashes started as demonstrators were removed from a government building demanding more education funding. 7 officers and 5 protesters were hurt. 12 people were arrested. Police were ordered to evacuate the building because protesters prevented state employees from getting to their offices.
NBC Nightly News coming to you again from Washington tonight with the sights, sounds, and emotion of the Pope's big day here as he greeted crowds gathered along streets and roads here. Also, we'll tell you about a mass being held this afternoon and why it is sparking such joy and controversy at the same time. And new details on that Volkswagen scandal and what customers are left to do now when we see you tonight.
A well-known environmental activist is targeting a Columbia utility. KOMU8's Colin Ruane is live downtown with Columbia Water and Light's reaction.
Well, Jim, this all started after Columbia Water and Light sent out a news release, and Erin Brockovich made a Facebook post responding to it. Now, the utility announced it would change the way it was treating water, which led to Brockovich calling out Water and Light. In her Facebook post, Brockovich called Water and Light, quote, lazy and cheap. But spokeswoman Connie Kaprowitz told me Columbia treats its water the same way many other cities across the country have for decades. She disagrees with Brockovich's post. Reporting live in Columbia, Colin Ruane, KOMU8 News.
Thanks, Colin. Now here's a look at what we're following for KOMU8 News at 6. We'll hear from a neighbor who witnessed a car accident involving a Jefferson City patrol car and a 1-year-old child.
And advice to Columbia students on the importance of getting a college degree.
A classical piano musician from Amsterdam gave one of the most famous pieces of classical music, Beethoven's Für Elise, a new 1920s twist. He says he wanted to take on the famous and overplayed piece by Beethoven in order to make it cool for YouTube users. He says he studied the 1920s time period and it reminds him of gangsters, so he decided to dress the part and create the whole scene in his music studio. Kenton?
Temperatures right now are still in the mid-80s across the area. 83 in Columbia. Go ahead and down to the capital, you're going to get up to 84. 84 in Versailles as well. 86 at Boonville. Sedalia is at 83, and Mexico is at 84. Tonight, 75. This evening, a great evening to be outside. Hopefully you can maybe get that barbecue going. 62 at sunrise and 83 once again tomorrow afternoon. Some passing clouds. Low humidity though, so really not that terrible, but not going to have too much of a change. We're going to be in the 80s for the next 8 days at least.
It's pretty hot for this time of year.
You know,
It is indeed.
and you know what an Indian summer is, but we have to have a frost before we can have an Indian summer. I don't see a frost anytime
Neither.
I don't either. I think we got a couple weeks.
All right, that's our time for now. Thanks for joining us.
Have a